Massive genius in his massive forehead. A hit is a hit, and we thought it would be a mob-related hit. Turns out it's just the music business. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Entertainment. It is episode 10 of The Sopranos season 1, and in an episode that didn't really serve much purpose to the main plot, because, I mean, spoiler alert, I believe we actually don't see Massive Genius again, and this whole venture into the music business kind of gets, cut short and never to be seen. But again,
I like to call it a filler episode.
Yes, but I think it was a decent filler episode for what it was. But we kick off the episode. I like saying episode. We have Polly with Chrissy. They're basically doing a raid. It's a score. All these unmarked bills, but turns out could they possibly be marked later down the line. But again, it's kind of like out of nowhere. There's no planning. It's like did the last episode even happen? Like, I feel like there is no there is continuity with certain stuff, but like with certain other stuff, it's like, are we in a different universe
Throws
here?
you in the deep end here, and you're thinking, why are they doing this?
Yeah, like literally just kill the guy. He's like, well, this is a message from them. Polly shoots him. They take the money. They're loving life. We've got all the money. But Christopher's like, you know what? I'm not going to spend the night at the whorehouse. I'm going to take Adriana for a meal. And then turns out after the theatre, they go to this like shitty New York like fast food place, and he's like the only white guy in the entire building.
I thought he was about to get killed, like.
He's like, whose welfare check do you have to cash in here to get a burger around here? That was a good wee line for Chris. And then, he's talking to Adriana about, right, yep, working with Tony Soprano's finally.
KFC?
Don't know what it was, but he's talking about, right, so he mentions Tony Soprano, right, and you think the cops are, 50-50 booking, so to speak. And he's straight over in the... he worked for Tony Soprano, guys.
To be fair, this probably saved his life.
Is that what the cop's going for, though? I think the cop was more going for a point of, he thinks he's the fucking man in here, troops, because he's with Tony Soprano's crew.
I got more from it. Here, don't do anything to him. He's with Tony Soprano.
But again, they're in New York. Tony's crew's in New Jersey. Yes, I know they've ties to New York, but realistically, like, say Christopher's killed in here. You try to tell me New Jersey's going to go to war with fucking half of Times Square? That's not really how it works. Especially for he's not even a made guy yet.
Well, they didn't do it for Brendan.
They didn't do it for Brendan, or they're going to do it for Christopher.
Well, Christopher wanted them to do it for Brendan.
Christopher did, and then when Brendan got any form of recognition, it was, fuck you, man, what you doing? But yeah, I mean, in terms of this, basically Massive Genius wants reparations, so to speak, because his family and his colour are owed them because Hesh made a lot of money off the black man back in the 50s and 60s, and of course Hesh is into the music business, and we eventually get this meet between Hesh, Tony, Silvio, I think Polly's there, Chris is there, but it's weird, like Chris is almost on the side of Massive Genius. He's like, you're going to pay him what you owe him. He owes him fucking dick.
You know, I actually hate this whole reparations talk. Show aside, it's fucking victim mentality. I want a freebie handed. Reparations. Where do you draw the line?
No, I'll tell you.
There's this stigma where black people think they're the only people ever to be wronged in the history of the fucking universe.
Oh, no,
I feel like us claiming, we want reparations off the English. I mean, what?
I mean, the quote Hesh, right? And this is a quote he actually said to Massive Genius in the episode. So bear in mind, guys, it's a quote. He goes, my people were the white man's nigger while yous were still running about pretending to be Cerberus. Because obviously Hesh is a Jew. Which I thought was a pretty good line. He's right. Look at the Jews in the Holocaust, which, I mean, Chris made a good point. He said he's hardly going to give you money. He talks about little pieces of Israel like they're fucking gold dust. So yeah, Hesh isn't really... But I mean, I'll say this, right? See, for Massive Genius, it does take some amount of testicular fortitude to go into Jersey and basically demand money for Tony Soprano's crew.
It does. Fair play to him.
Fair play to him, but again...
Confident man.
He's a confident man, son. Right, and let's just skip over to the Tony stuff this episode, where basically he's just trying to make friends that aren't in the mob or his family. And it just kind of felt forced. I don't really know what they were going for. I mean, it is his neighbour. The guy is Dr. Cusimano, and his shrink was out over at his house. I actually don't really know why she was there, to be honest, but as she was like in the bathroom, you hear someone going, ah! Turns out at the end of this episode, it's revealed it's just Tony making those noises, which I thought was pretty funny. But It is what it is. And, you know, these guys, right, that he's trying to become friends with, would they really ask all these questions? Like, oh, is it really like what it is in The Godfather and all that talk? And like, oh, do you whack people, Tony? Or did you ever meet John Gucci? Would they really ask stuff like that?
I don't know.
Knowing who he is?
I felt Tony was pissed off. I felt like Tony wanted to whack somebody while playing this round of golf.
Then he was like trying to make fun of them by saying, oh, he outbid me for an ice cream truck. And he beeped his horn all the way home. It's like, what? And these guys are so indoctrinated, man. They're looking at Tony like this is the fucking greatest story they've ever heard. But again, it's like, it's almost like these guys think, we're never going to see Tony again. But this other guy, I mean, it's his fucking neighbour. Exactly.
Tony's going to come over the night and
kill him.
Right.
And then later in the episode, we do see Tony give him a box saying, "I'll look after this, Cusimano, I trust you. But I'll come back looking at it maybe a month or, you know, it could be less, could be more." Then this guy's basically shitting himself the entire episode. Look with his wife, oh, should we open it? And then we hear more screaming, but it turns out it's just Tony lifting fucking weights.
Weights, yeah. Very weird sounds for Tony.
That was the end of the episode, but I mean, that's Tony wrapped up, right? There's not really enough.
Tony doesn't really come across as a weightlifter.
No.
None of them in Tony. Well, Pussy certainly ain't a weightlifter.
No.
Maybe lifts a few cheeseburgers, like, but.
No, there's not one guy that's fucking like, he's the guy you'd go fight with.
And even, I mean, Chris looks like the guy that's young and in shape, but you get the feeling that Chris would get his ass kicked in most fights.
Yeah, I'll say, yeah. Every single one of them lacks a physical. Like, Tony is big, but he's not like.
Out of them all, I'd probably say Paulie looks the most intimidating. Like,
but then he's like the oldest.
I know, but.
So, there goes that. But
I've
right.
really seen enough of Silvio to.
I know he is a bit small, isn't he? So. I know, and Junior couldn't fucking fight his way out of his wheelchair, so his simmer frame. But back to Massive Genius, right? So basically, because Chris has done this for him, Chris is like, I'm going to ask this guy a favour. We're going to try and get Adriana's ex into. I mean, again, it's like her ex, but it's like they're trying to make it as if like, oh, it'll be her venture. But I'll try and do something for her.
Why the fuck would Chris want to set her up with her ex on a bit?
And the guy's an absolute windy licker.
And he's not even that talented in music.
No, the music was horrendous. I mean, there's a funny scene where Chris cracks him with a guitar, Jeff Jarrett style, but the guy kind of just no sells it, and then they continue singing after he wouldn't. He's like, go inject the junk. He repeats it about 10 times and cracks him with a guitar. Thoughts on this? Because they were fucking awful, and Chris sees right through it, and then she's like, oh, this is just because this is my idea.
Yeah, and Chris is like, no, but Adriana storms out, and I mean, what's Chris supposed to say? That the band do suck? He had like an expert music producer, and he said they sucked, and then anyone that he asked in the crew said that they sucked. So,
and then when we get the phone call about Hesh phones Massive Genius and says that he's fought long and hard about his issue, and he's basically like, "Fuck you, I ain't paying you any money,"
which is rightfully.
Then he's like, "Oh, I'm going to sue you." He's like, "Oh, I'm going to sue you for using a song that you didn't ask us permission for in 1968 or some pish."
Fucking pettiness here, like.
But again,
counter sue and sue. I mean, what?
Like, it's just like if this guy's literally willing to ask for all this money from this crew on their home turf, it does really question the fact that like what I'm surprised nothing really actually happened to Chris. But then again, I think this guy just saw Chris as like, I'll use him to try and get reparations. But again, it's like, say he never runs into Chris. What was he ever going to plan on getting reparations? Was he just going to fucking sit for another 20 years until he was going to make his move? Bit stupid. Hesh walks into the Bada Bing Club. There's a song on, and he's like, "Now that is a hit," and then walks out, and Chris is just sitting there clinically depressed. And that's pretty much our episode. It was alright, there was some funny lines in there, but again, it was kind of filler. I'm going to give it a 7.
I'm giving it a 6. What I think I've noticed about The Sopranos, the less Tony in it, the worse the quality of the show, the episode.
I agree with that.
And it did feel like filler, you know, it didn't feel like it really. It's weird. I guess The Sopranos has kind of got like a supernatural kind of theme to it in that sense, where it's like some episodes you feel like it's advancing the main story. Then there's other episodes where you literally feel like it's a separate fucking universe altogether. I mean, I don't like that. I like either it to be like episodic where nothing is continuation, or everything's continuation.
Yeah, like last episode, it basically ends with Junior having enough of Tony's shit, and he's like, right, Mikey, we're ordering the hit. And in this episode, you don't even get any of them.
That's a pretty big thing to say, so should they not follow up on that?
I know. And like, the way the show goes, you've no idea really of a time skip. You know, like in this episode, I mean, this seems like it took place across like maybe a week. And again, what nothing's been done. Anyway, though, we're giving it a 6.5 because he gave it a 6, I gave it a 7. Next time out will be episode 11. 3 more episodes after this till, well, 2 more then the finale. Make sure you check out all that good stuff. But until next time, check out Fear the Walking Dead, The Walking Dead. But until then, peace.